Hosted by you/Brightside256. I have seen a lot of crazy people in my life, but my potential future mother-in-law is the absolute worst person I have ever met. I, 30F, have been with my boyfriend, 31M, for 8 months now. For the first few months, everything was amazing. He is the sweetest and most caring man I have ever been with. He likes to surprise me with fun dates and flowers for no apparent reason. The biggest surprise of all, though, was when I met his mother. I met his parents for the first time a few months ago. The first thing his mother said to me when I walked in the door was, "Are you Jewish?" I am not, and I am not particularly religious, but I was raised Catholic. Once I told her this, it was the beginning of the madness. She immediately stopped talking to me and acted as if I didn't exist. I was extremely nervous about meeting my boyfriend's parents, so this broke my heart. I was determined to make a good impression, so I kept trying to connect with her. This was a huge mistake, and I should have just let it go. Once we were all seated for dinner, she finally decided to try and make conversation. I have naturally red hair, and she asked me if my parents have the same color. I told her that I have the same hair as my mother. She then had the audacity to ask me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" I had no idea how to respond and just sat there, stunned. Seeing my reaction, she said, "Don't worry, I'll just ask my son about it later." I looked over at my boyfriend, who seemed equally shocked, but he didn't say anything. She then started to go on about my hair being too curly. She told me that I really need to learn how to run a brush through my hair and think about my appearance more when I'm out with her son. Then, when I didn't eat much at dinner, she gave me her version of a compliment. I was told it was good that I am watching what I eat because it would be a shame if I got any bigger. This was just my first meeting with this woman. As soon as I got into my car, I burst into tears and cried all the way home. My boyfriend was texting me and apologizing for his mother's behavior, but the damage was done, and I told him I needed time to think. He went into apology overload after this, sending flowers to my office every day and leaving me messages begging me to talk to him. I finally agreed, and we went out to dinner. He told me he had spoken with his mother about her inappropriate comments and swore it would never happen again. With this reassurance, I decided to give it another chance. Fast forward 2 weeks to when he invited me to a family birthday party. This time I would also be meeting his sisters and grandparents. His grandparents and sisters are awesome people. They asked me normal questions about my job, family, and friends. His mother seemed to be avoiding me throughout the evening, and honestly, I was okay with that. I went to grab something from my purse and noticed that it was not where I left it. I looked everywhere but could not find it. I went and asked my boyfriend, and he began to help me look. He then got a strange look on his face and quickly went upstairs. I could then hear a lot of yelling begin upstairs. He came back down holding my purse after a few minutes and told me that we were leaving. Once we got in the car, I asked him what was going on. His mother had taken my purse so that she could see my driver's license. She intended to try and run a background check on me. He told me she had mentioned this earlier, but he honestly thought she was joking. I thought it was best to avoid any of his family functions for the time being. This worked out great for a while, and he went to his family parties alone. He would ask me each time before leaving if I was sure I didn't want to go, but I always declined. Last week, his family had their family reunion, and he asked me to please come with him. I was very reluctant, but considering there would be so many people present, I didn't think she would pull anything. When we got there, everything was going great. I met his extended family and got to catch up with his sisters. His mother did seem to be shooting me death glares all night, but I brushed it off. Soon, she came over and joined a table I was seated at with his sisters and some cousins. The conversation was pleasant as we were talking about his sister's children. His sister has a daughter who is 12 and the same age as my niece. I then showed his sister a picture of my niece on my phone. His mother took a look at the screen and began to laugh. She told me she hopes that if I and her son ever have children, they don't look like my niece. My niece is beautiful, by the way, and she is only 12 years old. What kind of monster attacks a 12-year-old child's appearance? This was my breaking point, and I went off like a volcano. I started to scream at her and told her she is the most evil person I have ever had the misfortune to meet. I told her that if I ever did have children with her son, she could be certain she would never meet them because hell is too far to travel to. I'm not 100% certain about everything I said, but from what his younger sister later said, it was epic. She began to play the victim and wailed that I had just misunderstood her joke. My boyfriend came rushing over at this point, and she threw herself into his arms, telling him I am a horrible woman and he needed to throw me out right now. He told her that wasn't going to happen and to stop making a fool of herself. She seemed to accept this for a moment and sat back down, but she just kept sobbing that I didn't understand how to take a joke. Then something in her snapped as she noticed something my boyfriend was holding in his hand and began to have another meltdown. I didn't understand what was happening at this point and just stood there watching a grown woman pitch a fit like a toddler. None of what she was saying made any sense to me, as it was mostly incoherent screaming, but I did pick up on many derogatory comments directed my way. My boyfriend then told me we were leaving and told me to grab my things. As I started to get ready, his mother made a lunge for my boyfriend's hand and grabbed the small box he was holding. She then looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You will never have this ring, you little beach." She ran outside and threw the box down a storm drain. It turns out that my boyfriend was intending to propose to me. He had just obtained his grandmother's ring while we were at the reunion. His grandmother is completely heartbroken because now her ring is down a storm drain instead of continuing on in the family as she had always wanted. I don't know where to go from here. I'm devastated, confused, and exhausted. Can I ask him to never see his mother again? Is it my place to say something like that? I'm sorry that my story is so long, but I really needed to get this rant off my chest. Update 2 weeks later. I have been receiving a lot of messages asking for an update on the ring situation. Unfortunately, it could not be found. The city came out to try to assist, but they were unable to uncover anything. My fiancé and his family were devastated by this, and many of them have ceased communication with my future mother-in-law because of it. The ring held significant sentimental value within the family, more than I had understood at the time of writing my first post. This was literally the straw that broke the camel's back for many family members. His sisters have chosen to maintain contact with his future mother-in-law, and one of them told me that she is playing the victim card, claiming she had a mental break and that we all need to be more compassionate and understanding of her. I call this total crap, and I know she knew exactly what she was doing when she threw the ring down the storm drain. I have a theory that the ring never went down the drain to begin with. I suspect she might have hidden the ring somewhere on herself and only threw the box down the drain. I have no way to prove this, but I have expressed this concern to my fiancé and his family. It's a rather large house, though, so if the ring was hidden, it could be anywhere. I don't think it will be found anytime soon if that's the case. On a happier note, I am now engaged to my fiancé. My engagement ring does not have the same sentimental value as the other ring, but I love my new ring just the same. I'm very happy to be engaged, and I cannot wait to spend my life with my fiancé. My fiancé is now low contact with his mother, but word has reached her that we are engaged. After she found out, she apparently refused to leave her room for 3 days, refusing to speak to anyone or eat. The drama of this woman is unbelievable to me. Soon after I was informed about her condition, I started receiving a lot of strange emails and phone calls. I began getting calls from strange men asking me to perform various intimate acts. Obviously, I was mortified by this and immediately changed my phone number. I told my fiancé what had happened, and he thinks someone must be giving out my number by mistake when meeting these men. I didn't believe that, so I did a Google search of my phone number and found a few Craigslist ads written about me. The descriptions were just too similar to my appearance, they even mentioned my red hair. I truly believe my future mother-in-law is behind this. She knows how to post on Craigslist, as she sells a lot of used items online. I have also mysteriously been signed up for a variety of dating and porn sites. If this is my future mother-in-law, then I just don't know when she is going to stop. This is such a low level to stoop to, and I cannot believe how pitiful this woman is. I showed all of this to my fiancé and told him about my suspicions. He doesn't think his mother has the technical knowledge to pull this off. Then, what he said next chilled me to my bones, as I had thought his older sister liked me. He said his older sister had mentioned that to maintain a healthy relationship, you should be checking your partner's phone daily. She proceeded to tell him there should be no secrets, and I shouldn't have a problem showing him my phone when he gets home. I was planning to ask his sisters to be in my bridal party, and now I don't even know where I stand with them. Do they hate me too? What in the hell did I do to deserve this? I truly don't know who I can trust anymore. I have decided to limit what I tell them going forward, as I currently suspect they are my future mother-in-law's spies. For now, I'm going to try to enjoy my engagement and put this all out of my head. I guess I will just wait and see what happens with his family. Second update 20 days later. I have been getting messages asking for an update on my situation with my future mother-in-law, so I thought I'd make a quick post about what happened most recently. My fiancé went no contact with her after everything that happened. This lasted about a week before she showed up banging on our door. My fiancé was at work, and I was home alone at the time. She was wailing that she was sorry and just wanted to see me to apologize. Since I have neighbors who were beginning to watch this spectacle, I let her inside to talk. At first, she was very apologetic and said she just wanted to have a fresh start. She was pretty convincing, and I was actually considering just letting it all go. That's when she saw my Christmas tree, and all hell broke loose yet again. She began to scream that I was trying to convert her son to Christianity and that I was just a little whore trying to ruin her family. I kindly asked her to please leave and told her she was not welcome here, but she refused to budge. She told me that no son of hers would ever celebrate Christmas and proceeded to run towards the tree. She began tearing off every ornament and throwing them, leaving them smashed on the floor. I have many childhood and family ornaments on my tree that are very precious to me. Several were smashed in her rampage. I had to grab her and physically drag her away. This ended with her punching me several times and biting my hand. I finally managed to throw her out the front door and grab my phone to call the police. She proceeded to scream like a banshee out front and call me every name in the book. The police arrived soon after. And just like that, she completely stopped her fit and began to try and play the victim. She told the police that I was an intruder in her son's apartment and that I had attacked her. The police had arrived with an ambulance, and she was promptly taken to it because she was feeling faint and in distress after my brutal assault on her. The police then came to interview me, and I told them what had actually happened. I showed them the bite mark on my hand and the bruises that were beginning to form. My fiancé arrived at the scene and immediately came to my side. He confirmed to the officers that I do live there and that his mother is a nutcase. Seeing that her son was siding with me sent her into yet another tantrum. The police asked me if I would like to press charges against my future mother-in-law. I looked to my fiancé, and I could tell he was conflicted about what to do. I had to do what would make me feel safe in the end, and I decided to press charges. My future mother-in-law was first taken to the hospital and then arrested upon her release. She is now facing charges for assault, and I have taken out a restraining order against her. This has placed a serious strain on my relationship with my fiancé. He and the rest of his family want me to drop the charges against his mother. He tells me that since I have a restraining order, she can no longer come near me, so I have nothing to worry about. I don't think he fully understands how terrifying this experience was for me. He tells me that it is my decision in the end and that he will stand by me, but he doesn't want to see his mother go to prison. Part of me just wants to pack my bags and run. I told him that I felt this way, and he is begging me to stay with him. He says that we can move and have no contact with his family in the future. I am so confused and conflicted about what to do. Third update 6 months later. Well, everyone, I know I will be trashed for being so stupid, but many of you have asked for an update. I left my fiancé after everything happened, and I was heartbroken. A few days after leaving and staying with my parents, I found out the news. I am pregnant. I went to the apartment to tell him the news, and his mother was there. Yep, he decided to side with her. She screamed the loudest banshee scream I have ever heard. She told me I needed to get a termination immediately. I told her that I would not do that. I planned to keep the baby. That is when this monster attacked me. She started to hit me, including my stomach area. After this, I called the police. The bastard did nothing to help, only said stop to her from the sidelines. I think he wanted the baby to die. Luckily, they are doing just fine. I truly regret dropping the restraining order. I now don't know what to do. I think he still has rights as a father, but I don't know how to fix it so they don't have access. I am now pregnant and alone, living with my parents. Any advice is appreciated, but please leave out the negative comments. I am not sure I can handle them. Fourth update 1 month later. I have been asked many times about what happened afterward. When I got home that day, my mother took one look at me and was furious. I had a black eye and bruises. I declined the ambulance and went straight to my parents' house. My mom led me to my bed and made me a cup of tea. Then she just kept asking, "Who did this?" She thought it was my ex, but when I told her the truth, she was even more furious. I explained everything to her that had happened. I had never told her before and shared all the graphic details. She calmed me down and left to go make me some food. But she actually left the house. A few hours later, she came back. She had what she called her trophy, which was actually a large clump of my ex-future mother-in-law's hair. She had put it in a memory box. She told her that she would never lay eyes on her grandbaby and said many other colorful things. My mom is actually a former bodybuilder and very into fitness. After that, I got a call from my ex, and he just screamed at me. Mom took the call and told him never to contact me again or he would get the same treatment that was given to me. He has not contacted me since. Editor's note. There are posts made by Op that were deleted, so the story might feel a little incomplete to some of you. She hasn't updated her situation with her mother-in-law and her ex in almost 2 years. We can assume that the situation is concluded. Hopefully, everything is going well for her and her baby.